This video is on how much it will cost to feed out a sun conure from 14 days old to 14 weeks old. I figured I would do this because a lot of people give breeders a lot of problems about how much they charge for their birds, and this is a little bit of a breakdown to start out with, not to mention everything else that's added to it. 6 pounds of hand feeding formula. I use Tropican. Tropican's one of the more expensive one, and it cost me $7 for the 6 pounds because I buy bulk. A lot of the breeders will use the cheaper stuff. I'm one that if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right and make sure it's good food for them. 10 pounds of seed, which I use the Colorful Companion, and it cost me $12 for the 10 pounds of seed. You're going to have quite a bit of waste of the seed as well as the formula. That's why there's so much formula, because feeding just one bird, you're going to have a little bit more waste than you are if you're feeding 4 or 5. And the seed you'll have more waste if you have more birds, but this is just for one bird. And some of this will be for each bird and some of it won't. It just depends. But like I said, the 10 pounds of seed is because as it fledges out, it gets in the bowl and it poops in the bowl and everything else. So that's just how that is. We'll move right on. 2 pounds of fresh fruit and vegetables. It's $5. I mean, I use a lot of stuff that comes from a garden, so it ain't too bad. We buy fruit for us, so it kind of offsets the cost. If you have to go out and buy the fruit just for the bird, that right there is going to be more, because then you add in the gas time, the gas money and everything else. But because we get our own stuff too, so it's not too bad. 100 gallons of water. This is probably an underestimation, but this is a ballpark. This is not set in stone. 100 gallons. It only took 12 pounds of water to feed the bird, give or take. But everything else, you gotta clean their brooders, you gotta clean their cage, you gotta clean their food bowls, their water bowls, you gotta clean the syringes that you're using, the cup that you're using. So you add all that in because that's costing you money as you go. And I just put $20. It could be more, it could be less. It's just a ballpark. 30 pounds of pine shavings, $5. I mean, the pine shavings is what I used in the brooder, and sometimes I use them in the tray with the little babies, but most of the time I use just paper. And my preference, I don't use the cob because the cobs can't be digested. Once the cobs get stuck in their crop, it's a pain in the ass to get out. The pine shavings you can break up and they'll digest through. Electricity, $20. Now again, this is just counting what it costs for the electricity for their brooder. That's it. The time that the baby spent in the brooder. Because if I add in the electricity for the water, electricity for the ceiling fan I got out there, and everything else, we're gonna have a bigger price. But again, that's all bulk because I'm using other things with it, so it kind of offsets it. My total is $69. Okay, if a breeder sells their sun conure for $350, everybody has to remember this $70 comes right off the top. So you take that in consideration. You subtract the 70 from the 250, then you're left with, $350. You're left with what, about 270? I mean, that's a dramatic drop considering how long it took. It took 12 weeks for this. And that means there's no allocation for time in this whatsoever. And if you're getting paid, if you pay somebody $7 an hour for that amount of time, that's 7 days a week for 12 weeks. That's going to be astronomical. That's going to cost you quite a few $1,000s. And people don't understand that when we sell these birds, that our time is invested in, and this is just one bird. I had to feed this bird 7 days a week. 7 days. I had to be home a lot of those days just to make sure it was all right. As it got older, I could leave and do things, but I still had to be back here 3 times a day. There was no way around it. I had to be to feed them. So I mean, that messes your day up for 12 weeks. That's 3 months. I don't mind doing it because I enjoy it. But that's just what people don't understand when they get all hissy-fissy about the price. You got to understand that it's a lot of time and some money that is in this. If you allocate your time as money, you're looking at quite a bit of money. I mean, we'll figure it up real quick right here. Let me find my little calculator. Okay, here's my calculator. I can't make it big, but hopefully you can see it. Okay, what is it? Minimum wage I think is $7.25. Or no, we'll go by hours first. Let's clear this. There's 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. Okay. And that's 12 weeks, so you go 12 times 7. That's 84 days. Okay, you take 84 days times 7.25. That's $600. That's just $600 for your time. If you was paying somebody to feed babies, if you had somebody working for you, that's how much it would cost you. That's not counting the overtime. That is straight time. That's $609. And most sun conures at the very most are going for $400. And people don't understand that is insane. That it's that much, and people gripe about it when you're only selling them for like $350. So I mean, people just gotta understand that is right there. That is the show thing. That is how much for working. That's a lot of time. But this was to inform people how much it really costs. That's just to feed one bird. Now, if I was feeding 5 or 6, this number right here would be a little bit more, but it would offset because of how many babies I had. This cost would be a little bit more, but the end cost, what I got for all the birds, would be pretty close to worth it. Now, if I was just doing this to try to make money, I wouldn't make nothing off of it, because I'm gonna make a little bit, but I'm gonna break even if I count my time. I'll actually lose money, but I'm doing these videos, so I'm just trying to teach people so breeders know how much they're spending, and so people that are buying them from us breeders and pet stores, they understand what we go through and how much money it costs. And if I got into figuring out money here on selling at a pet store has an overhead. Us breeders have a little bit of overhead, not counting this. It's probably, if you ballpark, it's probably $100 overhead. Counting just all the, either the equipment or the water, food, what have you, just ballpark $100. But now a pet store will probably give us $250 for it. So this right here goes out the window. We make $100 if we don't count our time, and that's where we get gypped. Then the pet store will turn right around and they might get $400 for it at the very most. Now they're selling for like $400. If that bird sits in their store longer than a week, they lost money on it. They are losing money on it because they're paying somebody to feed it, paying somebody to change its food and everything. They got someone on the payroll for that, plus their electricity and their space rent. So they're getting in the hole quicker than what we would. So when you see the price of everything, after you see this, you can kind of understand why the prices are what they are. And instead of people trying to fight and argue and try to get us to knock the price down, just kind of accept it and say, look, man, this is what really entails, and it's a real pain to go through. But I enjoy doing it, so that's why I don't mind it. Now, if I was trying to make a living off of it, it ain't gonna happen. Not this way. It would take a lot more work. But I'm glad you guys stopped by and checked out my videos, and I hope this video was informative enough. And please check out my other videos. Check out my Facebook page, A Flock of Birds. A Flock of My Birds is what I had to change it to. And please subscribe to my my channel. Thank you and have a good evening.